On August 21st, 2017, the moon crossed over the face of the sun, causing an eclipse which crossed over the majority of North America. My grandfather had plans to see it in Wyoming. I was traveling to South Carolina to see it there. A week before, I stopped by my grandfather's house. I had an idea for a film. I'll tell you a little bit what I'm planning on doing with what I'm filming. Yeah. It's difficult to say because you don't know what you're gonna get. But I wanted to make a video about the eclipse. Because I wanted to make a video about you and about the eclipse and your dedication to watching time, watching rocks move and rain fall and stars shift, watching the cycles of the earth.
Time watcher.
Yeah. So I thought I would make a video about the eclipse and watching the eclipse, and try to weave in the perspective about time that you have.
That's interesting. Okay, that sounds like a good tack, a good strategy. All right, good.
Yeah.
Sometimes something grabs you and you just want to follow through.
Mm-hmm.
How do I look?
You look great. I was wondering if you remembered when we went to visit my grandfather right before the eclipse.
Yeah.
What did we do?
What did we do?
Yeah.
We walked around his house and he showed us the things that he had built, like the fancy big rain gauge.
Yeah, do you remember those big
Ellie
trees?
had planted. Yeah, he planted a beech tree like 45 years before we were there, and he showed it to us.
This tree here is a copper beech. And when I put it in here, it wasn't more than 6-7 feet tall, if you can believe that. This is a magnolia, and it's a memorial tree which I put in after Diane died.
When was that?
1971.
You measured precipitation and temperature for 50 years? Every day?
Every day for 50 years. After 50 years, I decided to retire from taking daily readings. The rain gauge is what's left of a weather station, and this funnels 8 inches into a 2-inch and magnifies it. So, for example, we had a little bit of rain, more than I thought. See, that's 6/100ths of an inch.
Cool.
Since I had a lot of stone, I conceived it of what I call a Polaris finder. These pipes aim at the North Star. At night, presumably, if you look through the pipe, you can see the North Star.
So what made you want to build it?
It's just a hobby, just a general interest. I had an interest in astronomy and the North Star, and just I can't give you a reason, just one of my hobbies. I can't give you a reason, it's just one of my hobbies, a general interest. That was always the answer he gave me when I asked him that question. Wasn't the answer I wanted, but that was basically what he said every time. Which probably means that I was asking the wrong questions, but I kept asking. December 21st, if you lined up these two pipes, that's where the sun sets on December 21st. And on June 21st, if you line up these two, that's where the sun sets on the horizon with these two. I'll ask the same question in a different way, I guess. What is the significance of being able to track the solstice? It stems back to my ancestors at Stonehenge when they wanted to know the furthest south setting of the sun. That told us when the winter was just beginning, or in other words, it's a pagan ritual to know exactly the position of the sun through the season. It has to do with the growing of crops. It has to do with the Egyptians have the same kind of thing. It's just carrying in a long tradition of human history. Not everybody has crazy hobbies like I have.
He described them as crazy hobbies or obsessions.
I wouldn't call it a compulsion, but an obsession. That would be the closest.
But I had all of the data. I had about 80 years worth of hard copies going back to the 1890s. And I used that as my data material for a set of books that I wrote about the weather stations. Here, let me put these on the table in the order that they were published. Mostly has to do with data, not too much in the way of text. This was all, you could say, love's labor. And I must say, they're not money-making books. No one is rushing out to buy a book about data.
So why did you write them? Why did you write them?
I wrote them because you could say this was my public service kind of thing. I did them as a public service. I did them because I was interested. And the funny part of it is, everybody who knows of my history, they're, can you tell me about tomorrow's weather? They're only interested in forecasting the immediate weather. And I said, I'm not a weather. If you want a weather forecast, turn on the TV or the radio and get your forecast.
Right.
If you want to know history, climate trends, that I can tell you. The big question right this week is, what are the weather conditions along the path of the eclipse next Tuesday, 21st? Today is the 15th.
We're going to South Carolina to see the eclipse. I'm excited. We're going to stay with our friend Ian, whose house is like on the line of totality, which is really quite lucky.
I've been to 5 or 6 solar eclipses. 2 of them were wiped out. One of them was, it clouded over just when you wanted it cleared, the moment of totality, the 2 or 3 minutes of totality.
We're almost there. This landscape is really crazy.
If you want to explain to kids simply, think of 3 different things: the sun, the earth, and the moon. In a solar eclipse, in the order, assuming they're lined up exactly: sun, moon, earth. That's a solar eclipse. A lunar eclipse is sun, earth, moon, where we see the moon blocked out by the sun, by the earth's shadow. That's the simplest way of explaining the eclipses.
Whoa! Whoa! This is stupid!
Oh my god!
Why would you ever leave? Why did you go to Medford?
God.
Look at where you live.
Oh, holy.
Why would you go anywhere else in the universe?
Their house is on stilts.
Their house is on stilts.
Hi. Oh, Maximus. How are you? I'm really well.
The solar eclipse in 1919, where they proved that a body like the sun could deflect rays of light by gravity, by whatever.
3, 2, 1.
I think we're going to have relatives on both sides of the eclipse. My Dan is going to Portland. I think the totality path is a few miles away from Portland. And you're going to South Carolina. And we're going to Wyoming. So there'll be people all along the way that we know of.
So the eclipse is about to start in maybe an hour here in South Carolina, and I don't know, it's looking pretty cloudy, so who knows exactly what we will find, but this place is just amazing. Ian's house is like Lothlorien or something. It's on stilts and set into the tree canopy. I've never been in a place like this. There was a dolphin last night, like it's magic here.
You get hooked. Once you see one, you want to see another one. I'll tell you that.
So it's 12:04, and here is a map of where we are in South Carolina. We're right here in McClellanville, and this map says that at 2:48 p.m. we're going to be seeing totality. So we got about 2 hours.
There's something called first contact, when you first see the shadow, the first touch of the moon touching the edge of the sun. And then it gradually moves across till totality, and then it's quite an experience. It's
Moving, the clouds are moving. The clouds are moving.
Oh my.
Whoa!
There are two things we watch for. One is the diamond ring, where the sun's rays are going through one of the valleys of the moon, just coming through, and that's called the diamond ring. And when a number of them come out, it's called Bailey's beads.
Dragonfly landed on me. I think it landed on me.
I do too. I absolutely do too. Wow.
Oh my god.
It's just like a little hole in the universe, but it's not a hole.
Oh, did you see the beads?
The beads? Oh yeah. A little bit.
Oh, it's ending. It's coming out the other side.
It's coming back! It's coming back! Wow! Whoa!
You get hooked. You want to see one. You want to see more than one.
Why do you think that is?
It's something, just the gradual movement of the moon, slowly covering the sun until the moment of totality. It's an exciting experience. It's hard to explain.
Hi, Grandpa, how are you?
Fine, we're coming back from the eclipse.
Cool.
We're out in Wyoming now.
Yeah, how was the eclipse?
The eclipse here was marvelous. Crystal clear. There was a cloud in the sky.
Wow.
Beautiful. How was it in South Carolina?
It was amazing. There were many clouds. It was crazy. It was very, very cloudy, and we were watching the sun through the eclipse glasses, so we could see the eclipse coming, and then right at the moment of totality, the clouds broke for a few minutes, and we could see the whole thing, and a dragonfly landed on my finger, and it was amazing.
And lightning and thunder.
Yeah, and there was lightning and thunder because there was a thunderstorm, but we saw the whole thing. It was like nothing else.
Well, I'm glad you're able to see it during totality.
It was really special. I understand why you've been chasing them for so many years.
Well, I'm glad you called. I'm glad it was a wonderful experience. That's the main thing.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, well, give us a call when you get settled.
Okay.
Great.
I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. So we're on the dock filming time lapses of the sunset. It's the conclusion to, without a doubt, one of the most beautiful days I have ever experienced. And it's just magic. Or maybe it's astronomy.
So between astronomy and climate studies, that was my interest for many years, and it still is.
What connects them, the astronomy and climate studies?
There's no real connection. They're just two separate interests.
There's no real connection?
One is dealing with events on the Earth, and the other is dealing with our beyond the planets and beyond.
The thing that strikes me about being here is like this consistent commitment to watching time pass, and cultivating an understanding of how time works and how the processes.
Well, it had nothing. As a retired optometrist, I was always taking measurements as part of my career. You might say there's a connection there, but I don't. My interest in these things was before I became an optometrist. Who knows what drives people to serious hobbies? You know, I don't know if you know the history of the family. My father was a watchmaker. Did you know that?
That's a commitment to watching time pass.
Yeah.
That's a commitment to watching time pass.
You've told me that,
but
I'd
watching
never,
time going by.
I'd never made that connection.
Here's some pictures of your great-grandfather. His wedding in March 1929. That was taken. He was a watchmaker. Yep.
Here, you gave me this thing. I thought I'd bring that up. Do you remember giving me this?
I remember that.
Oh yeah, a trilobite.
Yeah.
You carry it around with you?
I brought it with me for this because I thought it could be interesting to talk about.
Well, it goes back about 500 million years.
Yeah.
The first ones, anyway. There have been books written on time. What is time? Time is a human construct, or is it a function of how the Earth moves around the sun, or the spin, the rotation? You're interested in origins too, right? What are you turning, 27?
I'll be 27 next month.
Gee.
Oh yeah.
How old are you?
Now?
Yeah.
87. Yep. Got it all, Max?
Yeah.
There was this question that I just didn't know how to ask right, or
Maybe I was expecting a sort of answer that just wasn't there. Why? Why spend your life measuring the rain or collecting rocks? What does it mean? The next time I saw him was about 6 months later at a diner. I tried to ask again.
It's because, like, so you measured the weather every day for 50 years, and the books on your shelves, they're about archaeology and paleontology, and it's like everything that takes a really long time. And
looking back in time, you wonder what turns a person on in terms of interests outside of school.
Yeah.
And I remember I have a book which I don't know if I gave it away, when I was 9 years old. There was a bookstore about 3 or 4 blocks away from my father's store in Midtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it. It was a book. It was called a nature book. Everything nature, from trees to animals to birds, whatever, all in one book. So he bought it for me, and I looked at where it was written down. I was 9 years old at that time.
Okay, so what do you have there?
This is a book my father gave me, or bought for me, at my request. When I was 9 years old, I spotted this in the window of a bookstore, and I said, gee, I'd be interested in having that. And so he got it for me.
What is it?
And it's called Nature Encyclopedia. I was in 4th grade.
1939.
Yeah.
So what was it about?
Oh, it's about everything. It's about everything. It has, you name it, it has different, let's see. Starts off with birds.
It's a really special book.
And it has examples. These are the mammals. And
so why have you held on to this book for so long?
Well, it's a memorabilia. Why? Because it's anyway, this is how I got hooked.
This was how I got hooked. He used that phrase a lot.
You get hooked. You get hooked. You get hooked. How I got hooked.
But it was always clear to me that he'd gotten hooked. That was a good description, but I wanted an explanation.
As sure as the sun meets the morning and rivers go down to the sea, a new day for mankind is dawning. Our children shall live proud and free. United Nations on the march with flags unfurled. Together hope for victory. Fight for victory, a free new world. Together fight for victory, a free new world.
I've been thinking a lot about the way in which you've spent your life measuring time, basically.
Measuring time.
Measuring time. You observing the weather every day, or looking at the rocks, or looking at the stars, and just keeping the story that I have about it. The story that I've told myself is that you're trying to place yourself in the larger scheme of...
I'm a number collector.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you're 27 now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're lucky you have let's see. Well, Marcus' father still alive?
No, he
No,
passed
he
away
died.
when I was 18.
18 last year. No.
10 years ago. But her mother is still alive.
Yeah, I know. And I was 18 years old when my father died, and he was only 56 years old. Your father is already older than that.
Yeah.
So it's, I consider myself very fortunate to see all my kids grow up, get married, and have children. So it's very, very satisfying in many ways.
But of course, none of them are perfect.
Have you ever met a perfect human?
No, it's perfect. Parents are not perfect, and children, if the parents are not perfect, then certainly the children are not going to be perfect either. In many ways, as I tell my kids, I think they suffered a little bit because my attention was the more focused on my career than on family. And in a sense, I was like my father. I felt bringing in a living to the family was the important thing.
I mean, I was so absorbed in that I sometimes think I neglected my family in many ways.
Your father was only 10 years old when his mother died.
He was 71.
Yep.
This is a magnolia, and it's a memorial tree which I put in after Diane died, 1971.
He was 10 years old, and it had an impact on him, which has lasted to this day in many ways.
How long was she sick for?
Oh, she was sick a year and a half. And they originally said, they told me, didn't tell her that she only had about less than a year. So she lived longer, and we took a few nice vacations while she was sick down to the Virgin Islands, and a few other short vacations like Lake George. But I told her that she had 5 years, and even that she broke down. You look back on events that change your life. That's really, and the bottom line, in my case, as with your father and his siblings, was a death in the family can change your lives significantly. But no one goes on forever. You do what you got to do. You do what has to be done.
You've paid so much attention to these long, slow processes that take many, many lifetimes. And I'm wondering if that attention to those kinds of long processes has given you a certain kind of perspective on a human lifetime or on your lifetime.
On human lifetime?
Yeah. How does your life fit into that other?
I don't think one has anything to do with the other. I don't relate my lifetime to geologic processes. I can't give you, in terms of a human life, the best way of expressing it if you took my arm's length out here and the origin of the earth was on my left hand, and on my right hand, the earliest life would have occurred somewhere at the beginning of my arm, my right arm. There was no life. And if you go on all the way, if you want to know human existence, you'd have to take a nail file and scrape off the tip of my nail on my right hand. Tiny scrape. That's the entire human history relative to the rest of the Earth's history. I don't relate my lifetime to geologic processes. So the ice flowed from northwest to southeast and dumped boulders of the Palisades, the basaltic rock. You can find them located, rocks as big as this room, in New York City, Central Park. You walk along Central Park and then you see the bedrock, the Manhattan schist, and sitting on top of that is a rock from the Palisades. And it wasn't brought there by human beings. So I'm going to give a talk here on the rest of they don't know the history.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't. Not many people do.
September 12th, 2019, 3:03 p.m. New voice message.
Hi, this is Grandpa, just calling to wish you a happy birthday. Can't believe that you're 29. It's the years fly by, and I hope you have a good day. And I hope school is your teaching school has been is starting to be rewarding for the new semester. Many happy returns. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon.
Happy birthday again.
Thanks. Thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
Well, how's school starting out?
School's going well. I'm working on a video right now for the biology department. Yeah.
All right, well, that's good. Well, look, I'm glad things are going well, and let's hope it continues. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah.
And know you're doing what you enjoy doing. That's the main thing. That's the main thing in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I do enjoy what I'm doing.
And that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we'll be in touch. Call us, as I said, if you're down this area, and I'll get in touch with you every now and then just to find out how you're doing.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, stay well now. Bye-bye now.
Goodbye. It was 10:03 a.m. on Friday, October 18th, 2019. I had woken up in Virginia at 4:30 that day and had been driving home since before dawn. I was in a good mood. He called me and we had a short conversation. He asked me how I was doing. He said that he had just been to the doctor the day before and had learned that he was lymphoma-free. Good news. He invited me to Dan's house for Thanksgiving. I told him I would probably be spending Thanksgiving with my partner Rachel's family, but I would let him know. You have a girlfriend? He asked. Yes, I said. You've met her. We've been together for about 7 years. Oh, Rachel, I remember now. That's good. He wished us both well. I thanked him for calling me. We hung up the phone. The conversation lasted 2 minutes and 6 seconds. My father texted me at 6:43 a.m. the next day. Call me, he said. And I called him at 9:59, and he told me that my grandfather had died that morning at 5:20. He had woken up at 3 a.m. having difficulty breathing, and his heart failed in the hospital shortly after. It was abrupt, unexpected, in a way. He was 89 years old. After he died, Rachel and I went through some of the objects that he had given me.
That meteorite's heavy.
Yeah.
The box is kind of breaking a little at the bottom, actually.
Yeah.
The box has worked. I found 2 friends. Look at this beautiful friend.
Oh my gosh.
Hi.
That's so amazing.
What a little family. What a sweet family. I bet you they didn't know each other in life. But, well, maybe this is the Micah.
That's definitely Micah, yeah.
I think you filmed him giving you that.
Yeah.
What this one is from? That's a piece of muscovite, or mica, as they had.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably came from the Manhattan schist.
Herring, Lower Eocene, 50 million years old.
Wow.
Look at that bone structure. Look at that spine.
It goes this way.
That's true, it does go that way. Alright, now I can get at this heavy meteorite. Wow, that's like 10 pounds.
Jesus. What is that? It's a meteorite? No.
Exactly.
That's a meteorite? This is from outer space?
That's from outer space, right. From the southwest.
Where did you get this?
A meteor crater.
Wow.
Outside a meteor crater.
Heavy. It's like...
That's exactly. It's pretty much all iron.
Wow. This was in outer space.
Yeah, quite a journey to get to your room. This one's got seashells in it. This one's got quite a lot of seashells in it.
Wow.
It's a fossil from probably Devonian or Ordovician age, which means it's about at least 300 to 400 million years old. What else can we give you?
You've given me plenty. This is plenty.
This is plenty for now?
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. Good luck on your ventures.
Thank you.
And
I'll see you later.
Do something that will earn you a decent living for you and Rachel.
I'm working on it.
And you know, we're all plugging for you. You have the most talent, I would say, in terms of education of all the others. So go with it. Go be a strength.
He collected things his whole life.
Yeah, what a crazy collection.
This is only a piece of it.
Yeah, a really tiny piece.
What do you think of it?
It makes me feel things.
Yeah? Like what?
I don't know. It's a lifetime of things. And the things themselves are lifetimes. What kind of world would make this?
How does it make you feel?
Alive? Or beauty isn't a feeling. People ask me how I feel, and I say it's just beautiful. I don't know. It's a discernment, but it's just really beautiful. Like, this is all in the world. All this stuff is in the world. It makes up the world. And I'm glad I'm in it. I'm glad it's in it. And I'm glad we're in it together.
I'm now going to ask Jerome's grandson, Maximus, to come forward.
My grandfather measured the weather every day. Every day. Oh, I can change that. Yeah.
Make sure everybody hears you.
Yeah. Technologies. My grandfather measured the weather every day. Every day for 50 years. He went out to check the rain gauge.
Every day for 50 years.
He chased eclipses. He watched the stars. He collected rocks. He gave me this rock. You can't really see it. It's a trilobite. It's a kind of creature that lived between 250 and 500 million years ago. I want to try to take just a little bit of time with all of you to try to imagine what 500 million years actually is. My grandfather liked numbers.
I'm a number collector.
Yeah.
So, my grandfather died when he was 89. It's a lengthy human life. It's above average. There are a lot of things around us that seem quite old, but actually come off as rather young when you measure them in human lives. The beginning of this service, we saw that procession. We are inside of the United States government. The U.S. is very old, right? 250 years. It's less than 3 grandfather lifetimes. Or you can talk about the Western Wall. You know, this is another symbol that brings us here, I suppose. It's oldest symbol in Judaism, and people have been praying at that spot continuously for the last 2,000 years, perhaps. That's about 20 grandfather lifetimes. And the pyramids in Egypt, they're twice as old as that, 4,000 years. The pyramids in Egypt, they're about 4,000 years old, or about 40 grandfather lifetimes. But people have been farming in that spot for 3 times longer still, 12,000 years, lifespan of about 120 grandfathers. And 120 is still a number I can wrap my head around. I think it's not too much larger than 89. But the number of lifetimes that any human grandfather has been around is a little harder to imagine. Anatomically, modern humans evolved around 200,000 years ago. That's 2,000 grandfather lifetimes, but this still is nothing. Before that, we weren't quite human. We were something else
but we were still us. Our lineage, Homo, has been distinct from chimpanzees for 5 million years. That's 25 times longer than we've been human, or 50,000 grandfather lifetimes. But this rock, this trilobite, it's 500 million years old. It's 100 times older than the earliest Homo and 5 million times longer than the life of my grandfather. And he gave this to me. 500 million years. Whenever I saw him, he would try to explain to me the age of the rocks around me, or the age of the stars, or how long it had been since the last ice age.
About 16,000 years ago. That was the last ice age.
He measured the weather every day. He understood time in a way like no one else I've ever known. And maybe by the time I die, I'll understand time like that too. It was 4 years ago now that I started filming my grandfather. I had hoped that he would explain to me why he had devoted his life to the things that he did before he died. I won't ever really understand what drove him. I don't know if that was ever possible, but I know what effect it had on me. And that's probably enough.
Sometimes something grabs you and you just want to follow through.
Mm-hmm.